Jet Tila here, and today we're going to make one of my favorite Thai noodle dishes, pad see ew. It's that comfort classic of fresh noodles, broccoli, and your favorite choice of protein. Let's get started. So we really need to talk about the noodles, right? This is a very specific kind of noodle. It's called a fresh rice noodle. The Thais would call it guatio. The Chinese, Cantonese, would call this hor fun. Let me pull it out and kind of explain what this is, all right? This is basically a sheeted rice noodle. If you took rice, added water, a little bit of cornstarch, and you blended it into a batter, and then you took that batter and steamed it in a flat sheet, that's all it is. So it's really just this beautiful, fresh rice noodle. So you're gonna find these in the Asian market in 1 pound packs, and they can either be uncut like this or cut 1/2 inch wide or 1 inch wide. Since we're really lucky to get the noodles right from the factory uncut, this is what I want you to do. I'm gonna square off this sheet of noodle right there on one edge. For Thai noodles, I want them in 1 inch widths. So check it out. I'm going to kind of square that side off, basically cutting the curve. So these will actually pull apart. I'll do the same thing on the other side, and then cut them into 1 inch widths. And this is exactly how they would come in the package, in these 1 inch widths. So all you'll have to do is pull them apart like I'm gonna here. One sheet now, because I've made those cuts, becomes these beautiful strips. And that's that pad see ew shape. And if you are a fan of Cantonese food and you've had chow fun before, it's the same exact thing. In fact, any Thai dish that has noodles really is an homage to China because of that long relationship between Thailand and China. I know my Italian buddies think that they created pasta, but no, it was the Chinese. So yes, come fight me, whatever. The way to test if noodles are fresh is basically take that package and then bend them in half. If they crack at the seam, that means they're not fresh. These are super fresh. So again, I'm gonna do the same thing over. I'm gonna cut into the edges out and cut these into 1 inch strips and then pull them apart. Now, I also get the question often, Jet, what do I do if I'm not gonna use it for a day or two? Don't stick these in the fridge. What happens when you put cooked rice in the refrigerator? It starts to crystallize and get hard. So what I want you to do is just leave them out, cool, dry place in the package so they stay nice and fresh, and they'll be good for about 2 days. If you're like, dude, I live somewhere far away from the Asian market and you do have to fridge them, the secret is throwing them into the microwave for about 30 seconds until they start to get pliable, and then you can just kind of work them just like this. All right, my last brick of noodles here. So these fresh rice noodles are gonna be put to the side. All right, Chef Mike, where you at? You're like, who's Chef Mike? Chef Microwave, by the way, another code word for back in my restaurant days. So I've got 2 to 3 tablespoons of water in here. I'm gonna cover this tightly and put it in the microwave for about 2 to 3 minutes. These are gonna steam to perfection in about 2 minutes. I love this dish because it's really a simple dish. There's not a lot of prep other than garlic and chicken necks. So take your whole clove and cut the root side off, about 1/4 inch of the root side straight down, nice and gently, just like that. The garlic really just holds on by that root, and I'll show you what I mean. So I like to separate them now into the cloves. I'm only gonna need about 3 or 4 cloves for this one. And then to release the cloves from the actual skin, just put your knife on top and lean down until you hear it flatten, and the garlic cloves will pop right out. Really fun kitchen tip I want you to use. Now, it's okay to buy peeled garlic. I'm not gonna judge you much, but it's really easy to kind of do your own garlic. Once the garlic is peeled, simply lean down, flatten more, and then you're gonna do a thin slicing pass, about 1/4 inch. Once that's done, 1/4 turn, same thing, thin slicing pass, about 1/4 inch. The dominant hand holds the knife, The non-dominant hand is actually fingers curled under and thumb staying behind those guide fingers. And I like to pick a guide hand. So you're kind of slicing, pulling the guide finger towards your thumb, reset, slicing towards your thumb. And that's how you stay safe with a knife in your hand. Next, chicken. Now, pad see ew can be any protein. I just happen to be doing chicken here, but beef, pork, shrimp, all of it works. And I'm gonna show you how to cut a chicken breast for the wok. So I have a half of a chicken breast here. First thing I'm gonna do is cut it into about 2-inch wide pieces with the grain, meaning this. You actually will see the protein strands, the grain. If you have a full half breast where you have like a tenderloin, pull that out. And then I want you to cut this in half with the grain, just like that. And then we're gonna cut against the grain with a little bend in the knife, also known as a bias slice. So check it out. I wanna basically cut thin tiles. This little tile is going to cook up nice and juicy, not dry out, and also be the perfect accompaniment to those noodles and vegetables. So first half now against the grain with a little bend in the knife to make these tiles. 2 fingers wide by 2 fingers long. This is the perfect stir fry cut. This also applies to beef, to pork. You don't need to do this to any seafood. All right, chicken is done. Separate board, keep it clean. I'm gonna wash my hands. Let's do a little Thai lesson, shall we? Pad see ew, okay? What other Thai dishes have the word pad in it? Pad Thai, probably the most common. Pad or pat means to stir fry. That's all it means. See ew is soy sauce, but this is a very different soy sauce. This is called sweet soy sauce, and what that means is, check out how it pours. This is going to be about 70% molasses to about 30% soy sauce, so it's gonna be sweet more than it is gonna be salty. Oyster sauce, because it is a noodle dish, which is Chinese, oyster sauce is the perfect end-all be-all of sauces in the Chinese kitchen. It has savoriness, it has sweetness, it has a beautiful amount of balance. And then finally, the Thai ingredient is going to be the fish sauce. And fish sauce is basically fermented anchovies, which creates a phenomenal savoriness. That's pad see ew sauce. It's really simple. Mix that together, and if you love pad see ew, like if you have a crazy, unhealthy love for pad see ew, don't make this sauce every time you're gonna make pad see ew. Multiply this by 5 or 10, put it in a big squeeze bottle, and you've just made your own pad see ew sauce whenever you want it. So it's time to throw everything in the wok and cook up this pad see ew. I'm using a wok here. I don't want you to panic if you don't have a wok. Do not be discouraged. Actually, one of my favorite things to cook with in a home kitchen is like a Dutch oven or a large skillet. You just want something wide enough, at least 9 to 11 inches wide, with a little bit of a lip that holds heat really well. So do not freak out if you don't have a wok. Order of operations. We're always starting with aromatics and oil. When cooking in the Asian kitchen, use a high temperature neutral oil. Peanut, canola, if you're fancy avocado, I don't care. As long as it gets really hot and doesn't have a lot of flavor, that's the right oil. Oh, let me check on Chef Mike really quick. Perfect. As you can see, the broccoli is nicely steamed. Do make sure to pull the plastic off from the 12 o'clock side so you don't burn yourself. Always make sure to drain off any excess liquid because you're gonna get a massive spattering of hot oil, and hot oil and skin don't play well, so just don't do it. If you're super freaked out and wanna like make extra sure, you can take a towel and also drain it out on a towel. So nice and dry. I'm gonna show you another Wokman secret. Oh, Wokman. Anyway, you need enough oil to cover the wok, but too much oil adds a lot of calories and makes your food greasy. So add enough to get the oil to hit every square inch of the wok, and then just dump out what you don't need. I call that priming the wok. So looking for white wispy smoke. When you see white wispy smoke, you add garlic, and you want to keep things stirring, and if the garlic starts to brown, which is a good thing, you want to add chicken straight away. Every time we add an item to the wok, we cool the wok down. So if you feel like the wok is getting away from you in terms of getting too hot, add the next item. Now I'm going to take a second and sear up this chicken till it's about medium rare. And because the wok was smoking hot, check it out, it doesn't stick, right? So you always want white wispy smoke, which will pretty much cauterize the chicken and keep it from sticking. So in about a minute, the chicken is seared on the outside, but still nice and rare in the middle because we have a lot of cooking still to do. I'm gonna show you a great wok tip. So with eggs, get your eggs into the bowl and get them whisked, just like you're making scrambled eggs. The secret to not adding too much oil to this dish is using the wet egg to cradle your fresh noodles. So watch what happens. As I put the noodles in, right into the wet egg, I'm gonna coat these noodles with the egg. There's this magic that happens in the pan where the egg whites and the yolks actually will cover and protect the noodles from sticking to the pan. If you've ever made fried rice and not used egg, you're ending up dumping in oil because that rice keeps sticking. These noodles are made of rice, don't forget, so they're just as sticky as fresh rice. As the eggs actually cook up stuck to the noodles do sear and they get nice and crispy on the edges and soft in the middle, but nothing sticks to the pan. I learned this trick from a Hong Kong wok chef who was doing it for about 40 years while I was chefing in Vegas, and it totally blew my mind. So check it out, as long as you're scraping, nothing is sticking to the pan, and you don't need to add a lot of oil. The broccoli was pre-cooked slightly, so it can go in now. And I'm gonna add my sauce. And because the sauce has a good amount of sugar, this is where you're gonna have to work a little quickly to not create too much caramel in the sauce. Let's use the back of this wok spoon to create as much surface area as possible to really get those noodles some pan love, a really nice kind of heat, and then flip this over and smash flat again. And that's all we're doing. Your job as a wok chef is to make sure you keep the food moving, scrape off the bits before they start to burn, because caramelization is delicious. Burned food is not delicious. So we're gonna stay ahead of that all the time. Let's add a little white pepper to this. Turn off the heat and make sure to pull this while the edges of the noodles are crisp. They're still intact and not falling apart. That's perfect pad see ew. You need to taste your food. We need to taste our food before we serve it. So what you're looking for are slightly caramelized edges of the noodles and the chicken, but the noodles are still intact. By keeping a lot of surface area of noodles, you're getting really fast evaporation to kind of reduce that sauce into a beautiful glaze. You want this dish moist. It shouldn't look wet and it shouldn't look too dry. So what we should be looking for is looking down at the bottom of the pan and not seeing any residual sauce, and you know you've done a good job. This recipe is gonna make enough probably for about 2 to 3 servings, but I know some homies that could probably take down this entire pan, no problems. Don't be scared to make more than you need if you're feeding a group. This really is the perfect comforting noodle dish. So there you have it, friends. Pad see ew from my kitchen to your kitchen. Enjoy, go forth, cook a lot, and we'll see you next time.